What is going on, beautiful people? Welcome to the Sub and Tug show presented by GoldBoys. My name is Finesse. I'm joined by my man Scar, and today we are talking UFC 318 going down Saturday night. It's going to be an amazing card, so thank you guys for watching. If you can, real quick, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We got a ton of content, wide-ranging content across all sports coming at you from the GoldBoys YouTube channel. Scar, my brother, how you doing today?
Man, I'm excited for this one. Going down in New Orleans. This is probably one of them, like, people will say this fight card isn't that special. I think it's one of the most anticipated, could be one of the most lucrative for us betting cards of the entire year. Right up there with the Marab, Kayla Harrison card. So I'm really excited. We got 14 fights for once, so we got a jam-packed card. It looks like the
Yes,
first
sir.
one is Harley, right?
Yes, sir. Let's jump right into it. We'll get the people in, get the people out. Again, if you're brand new here, UFC 318, we're going to try to give you guys all the info you guys need to make some money Saturday night. So we're going to try to get you in, get you out with all the info you guys need. So yeah, let's kick it off. Like Scar said, 14 fights, a lot to get to. So let's run through them. First fight of the night, Carly Judice is taking on Nicole Cagliari. Judice, big favorite, sitting around minus 350. Comeback on Cagliari plus 270. Scar, why don't you kick us off?
Yeah, I mean, this one, I feel like UFC is trying to just, similar to the Fatima Klein fight last week, we got a woman who has violence. We've seen that in just the last fight that she did, and I think we're going to get a repeat of that. I really think this sets up well. The only maybe concern here would be if Nicole can maybe get some grappling, take, Carly out of her element, get her a little uncomfortable. But I think this again, I mean, Carly's going to have her covered everywhere on the feet, in my opinion. So for me, I'm going to be looking at Carly round two to start. I believe that gets us much closer to even money. And then two of the hot spots I like are round two KO, round three KO, paying at about plus 700. So I think both of those are, you can kind of really trim some of that juice from minus 340 down to kind of a much more playable in the low 100s. Well, what do you think, Finesse?
Yeah, I 100% agree. You touched on some of the exact things I'm looking at. 2-3 KO for Carly, I think is a really good price. Like you said, plus 700. I played it in her last fight, and of course, she got the round one KO. But yeah, let's just hope that doesn't happen again. But yeah, I was looking around the same for my straight bet too. I really like Judice, man. One of the best nicknames in the game, Crispy. I love that. And you know, looking at the record 4-2, it's about as deceiving as it can get. Both, um, overall skill wise, and record wise, right? Being 4-2, only six pro fights, very misleading, right? She is very skillful. She's a savage in there. Really, really good striking, really good cardio, really good pressure. And we've seen her in some amazing fights already. Dana White's contender series against Ernesta, one of the best contender series fights I've ever seen, man or woman. So, and to land that many strikes in that fight, to land so many strikes against Gabriela Fernandez, I know, it was a split decision loss in that fight, but still made a very good account of herself versus a very tough girl. In this matchup, against Cagliari, like you said, man, I think she just is so much better in my opinion. Cagliari is gonna spam hooks on her feet. That's about all she presents on the feet, in my opinion. Pretty physical and strong, but spamming hooks. Like you said, I think she's gonna try to get the takedown and the grappling going. I just think maybe she has some success early in this fight, but I don't trust her cardio at all. I don't think she's gonna have sustained success. And I think come 2-3, I think Carly's gonna melt her, man. The volume, the pressure, the cardio, I think it's gonna be too much. So like you said, she tasted that first UFC finish. I think she can easily build on that momentum and have repeat success against another girl. I just think she's so much better than her. So yes, it's very juiced, but like you said, I like that fight. Maybe fight to start round two again, just coming off a round one KO, but very unlikely for the most part in WMMA. What's up? What are you thinking?
I think that this could be also a perfect live betting spot. If Nicole maybe gets some control or early takedown in the fight, you're going to see that live line drop down. So while we're going to have obviously these pre-match bets, I think a live look at Carly might be really juicy because again, we're round two, round three, she's going to pour it on. The volume's going to be there. Nicole's going to tire out most likely if she's trying to shoot that grappling heavy approach. I think it all is funneling towards that. And I think we're getting a little bit of a discount as well because of that round one KO. So I think the books are kind of like worried that that might happen again. Again, plus 700 is really nice in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I'm just looking for ways, big favorite. It doesn't take a rocket science to pick a big favorite. It's all about trying to extract value. So I like it. I wouldn't mind a parlay piece, to be honest. I know it's a little
Oh,
disgusting.
for sure.
WMMA, she's such a big favorite, but I think she can easily look, minus 500, minus 600 when she's melting her face in round two, round three. So, yeah, curtain jerker, pretty interesting for both of us. I think both of us will have some action early in this card on that fight. So, love to see it. We're starting off aligned. All right, let's keep it pushing. Jimmy Crute against Marcin Prachnio. Crute, sizable favorite, minus 300, minus 325. Comeback on Marcin is plus 250. Scar, I'm actually pretty interested in this fight, and I
Oh
almost feel a
boy.
little, yeah, I almost feel a little too interested. Like, it's a little weird, but I really like Crute in this matchup, man. And it's disgusting on the surface, right? Because one, it's a Jimmy Crute Prachnio fight. Two, Jimmy hasn't won a fight in half a fucking decade. And three, he's minus 300. So all of those things you put into a pot is pretty disgusting. But you watch the tape, matchups make fights, and this is tailor made for, I think, for a guy like Jimmy, man. He's on a new contract, right? So there's a little bit less pressure, and it kind of shows the UFC wants to invest in him a bit. And now you're giving him Pragnia, so the UFC saying, "Listen, we invested in you. Here is a fucking layup, just a practice layup for you to do your thing." And I really think that's what it is. Jimmy ITD is even money on apps like Hard Rock and DraftKings. Last time I looked at it, I really like that. I don't really want to get too greedy and play. The sub is, I think, only like plus 140, and I think there's
And
a
it's
very good,
disgusting.
yeah,
It's
there's a
disgusting.
very good reason for that. I think the easiest path to victory, the grappling, the size of the grappling gap is fucking humongous, galaxies apart. Prachnio is one of the worst grapplers, I think, in the sport, let alone the light heavyweight division where grappling is at a premium. Yeah, Jimmy's grappling way above this guy. So I think the easiest path to victory, get the takedowns. If he shoots him, I think he gets him. I think he get him early, get him often, and just absolutely dominate on the mat. So I think that's why this price is the way it is. Prachnio, not the most durable guy too. So just so many paths to victory in my opinion for Jimmy. And I'm liking a KO. I know the sub is a little bit contrarian because the sub is so low, and I think that's the way it gets done. But round one KO is like 10-1. Round two K1, round two KO is like 12, 13-1. I would happily stab at those prices. Little small bets, but I think the main bet for me is going to be Crew ITD. Not get pretty, not try to guess around, just get it done for me. I think it happens within 10 minutes. One of my more passionate takes. That's a little bit weird. I might deserve to lose because I'm betting on Jimmy Crew. But yeah, Crude ITD, 1 KO, 2 KO. That's what I'm liking. What about you, bro?
Yeah, so we're gonna be aligned on this one again. I mean, this one reminds me of the Borshoff McKinney fight a couple
Mm.
weeks back, where you have Prachnio, who has arguably one of some of the worst takedown defense in the world. If they hang Jimmy Crute takedown anywhere close to even money, like they did McKinney, that's going to be a max play, I think, without a doubt. I mean, all over it. I still can't believe they laid McKinney at plus 140 to a guy that's been taken down. So if they give us that same gem, that's going to be kind of the one thing I'm looking at. Maybe SGP in that with his money line, if just to kind of trim it, because I think that's what's going to happen. I think he takes it down. He's going to be on the ground, and it's not going to be pretty. I think laddering him inside the distance, and then kind of first two rounds with the KO plus 550 I had circled, so we're kind of in line there. I think it's going to be pick your poison, and you got one that's almost 1-1, and you have another one that's 5-1. You kind of go with the 5-1, especially where Prachnio is not durable. And then with Jimmy, I mean, I think the round one is going to be very live. I think if it gets extended, then it's going to be weird. I think this is one of those fights. He has two draws recently. For a sprinkle long shot to look at, maybe he 10-8 some round one, gasses, and we see the same cycle, round two, round three, and we just see a draw. I mean, if that happens, by all means, it's going to be probably like plus 8,000. He's already done it twice. He's obviously attracted to it, so that's going to be it. But I think no matter what, I think Jimmy quick getting it done. He's getting a gift here, like he really is.
Yeah, 100%. Glad we're aligned on that one. Like I said, very, very, very interested in that fight. Let's keep it going. So that wraps up the early prelims. If you haven't done so already, first of all, thank you guys for watching. And if you haven't done so already, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Really helps the channel out, gets new eyeballs on the channel. So we would highly appreciate that. If you like the video, appreciate you guys. But yeah, moving to the prelims. Francisco Prado going against Nikolai Veretennikov. Francisco Prado, finally, we're starting to see a little, bit more manageable of a line at least. Minus 140, minus 150 on the Prado side. Comeback on Nikolai is plus 125. Scar, what do you think?
Yeah, so this is an interesting one. I mean, we have a 13-year age gap, I believe. It's pretty crazy. I mean, Prado, this was the Jake Matthews one, by the way, where
Mm.
he has some. If you look at Prado's losses, they're pretty good, actually, looking back on it. The guy's only 23 years old, and now he's fighting a guy who just had Paige Van Zant's boyfriend put him in a coffin. So, like, this is as much as I like Prado, and there's things to, he still has a lot to work on at being 23, needs to prove himself. This, for me, this is more of a fade of Nikolai. For me, minus 3.5 at plus 120, or Prado and over 2.5 minutes, or over 4.5 to get to even, or even just playing money line. I mean, those are kind of all the three avenues I'm looking at. I haven't pulled the trigger yet, but for me, it's just more of a fade of Nikolai, that 13-year age gap. I don't know. I don't really see an avenue where he's going to find success. And I'm surprised that the line is actually this close.
Yeah, I mostly agree. I'm not a very technical guy. I'm really not. I haven't been super impressed. Like you said, coming off that Vanderford, I know he's, it's all fun. What's her face's boyfriend and all of that stuff. But I kind of like him. I'm glad he's in the UFC. I took him in that spot. I think he was. I think I got him as a TUG in that spot actually, which in hindsight looks ridiculous. But that's kind of a culmination, right, of the type of fighter and the type of holes that I think Nikolai has in his game. Not that smart, right? Again, you have a training camp to, I think it was a shortened training camp, but the type of guy you're fighting in Austin. He's going to try to take you down, and Austin, there was just no, uh, no fight. You know what I'm
No
saying? No,
resistance.
yeah,
Yeah.
no resistance. You know what I'm saying? And you know what you're training for, and then there's no resistance. I think one of the first things he did in that fight is throw a kick, and I know that's a big
Mm.
part of your game, but it's about style. So, and then the second round just kind of wilts, man. I know Austin was fighting a really good fight, and taking him down a bunch and wearing him out and stuff like that, but he kind of just rolled over and said, "Yo, I'm going home." And I feel like we've seen that a couple times throughout his career. He's been finished 3 times. Even in the Danny Barlow fight, right? Danny Barlow, I think, broke his arm for the second time in that fight and looked like shit, in my opinion, the whole
Oh, yeah,
fight.
that was one of his worst fights. And I
Yeah.
mean, the one concern I would say about the Vanderford fight that might give me a little pause is that Vanderford fight, I think, was on less than a week's notice. So maybe he looks so much better on a full week's camp. But yeah, as you said, I don't know, man. It's not looking good things out of his fight styles here.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen him on full camps. I've seen him on shortened camps. I'm not a huge fan. I think he fought a lot of I want to be respectful, very lower echelon, bottom of the barrel guys on the regionals, and kind of padded that record like we see from a lot of guys in this region of the world. He's still getting finished on the regional. So, a guy like Prado lands significantly more, right? If we look at, I was just looking at it, uh, very technical strike numbers, right? 5 versus Austin. Again, I know he was getting wrestle fucked a bit, but 5 versus Austin. 50 in a 15-minute, basically kickboxing fight with Danny Barlow, and then 52 in a 3-round loss at Dana White's Contender Series. So I just trust Prado. Prado's landed almost 6 significant strikes per minute. Nikolai 2.75, right? So almost double the strikes. He's the more accurate striker, takes less strikes per minute. So just a lot to like. I think Prado has absolute lunch boxes in his hands. So I think he gets to Nikolai. I think he's gonna have to closing the distance. I feel like is the biggest thing for Prado. I haven't seen him have much trouble with that, but it's getting past the kicking range. Nikolai has very good kicks, good side kicks, things like that. So just get past the kicking range, and I think he's gonna land some big shots. Possibly put this guy away in 2-3, but yeah, like you said, I have no problem with the money line. We'll see where the price goes. I'm kind of waiting back and
You just
chilling.
It's one of those ones where you just hope that your fighter shows up because he has all the tools, everything
Yeah,
looks good for him, but will he be comfortable in the like? Will he be able to go? Because last thing you want to see is him just get stuck in the mud. You see it sometimes where you're like, "What the heck? Why am I betting on this guy?" But I mean, this is a Nikolai who can be, as you mentioned, a little tough. I looking back at his past fights. I can't believe Michael Morales took him to a decision. Like, you want to talk about like you're looking back at crazy like adventure
yeah,
like of a guy's career, and you're like, what? Morales kills Burns and, instantly. And then just a couple years ago, Nikolai goes to a decision. So should be an interesting one.
Yeah, I think Morales was a little bit more raw posed back then.
Oh, yeah.
I think he's a lot more polished now, and I don't. I have a little bit more trust, I think, in Prado. We've seen him. This is what his fifth UFC fight. Going in against very tough competition, and Zell Huber, who we'll talk about later, and Jake, like you mentioned. So, um, you know, three out of his last four fights are L's. I think that's pretty like market wide, the type of fighter and the type of skills he has. I think that's a little bit unsustainable, right? In terms of those losses against good competition. Now getting a step down, I think it's winnable. I'm hoping to get a little bit of a better line. Minus 125, minus 130. I'll take that for sure. But even at minus 140, minus 150, I think it's a relatively decent price.
If they do, if they give us some favorable lines for under zero takedowns for like a fighter, I think that would be a great parlay piece. I'm wondering, if they give us like an even money for one of these two, I might really like this because I do think we're gonna just see a striking affair.
Yeah, I agree. All right, next fight: Marvin Vettori versus Brendan Allen. Brendan Allen, sizable favorite, minus 210, minus 220. Comeback on Marvin is plus 175. I'm flirting with the dog in this spot. I'm flirting with a play on Vettori. Like I said, I don't make bets early in the week. I like to wait till Thursday, Friday, even fight day to make some of these bets. So I lose a little bit of value, but I'm just trying to maximize the info. I want to see both of these guys on a scale. It's not really a much of a problem for either of these guys historically, but I just want all the info I can. But plus 175, I think that is more than a generous price. I think Vittori has the tools in his bag to at least make this a 50-50 fight at very worst case. And if that's what it is, then I'm happy with the plus 180 shot. Very good takedown defense. I think this fight, I think he can dictate more rather than not where this fight is taking place. Defend those takedowns, defend the shots against the cage. I think Brendan can have some success. Brendan's nasty. I don't think his wrestling is necessarily the best, but he's persistent, decent striker, and really good grappler, like we know. So I think Brendan can have some success. Maybe some cage control. Threatening some takedowns, and Marvin kind of has trouble, getting going early in this fight. But that's really about it. Striking, I think Marvin has more power. I think he's more durable. Obviously, one of the best chins and most durable guys in the entire sport. So, like I said, I just think there's I think a majority of this fight is either Marvin looks like the sizable favorite or it's 50-50, right? And if that's a majority of the equity I feel like in this fight, then I'll happily take a plus 180 shot. Brendan, I know he's, I don't want to give him too much slack coming off Imavov and the fluffy fight. Those are two, motherfuckers, two of the best. And Imavov might fight for a belt, within the year. So not taking anything away from him, but even the Chris Curtis fight, I mean, we've seen, his flaws, even in a little bit of a cupcake run, Jocko, Muniz, Bruno, Craig. That's not really a top echelon run right there. And we've still seen him get hurt, get wobbled, the decision making be extremely fucking bad, even in fights like this. I think that's going to continue to cost him throughout his UFC career like it has in the last two fights. And I like Marvin, man. I don't know what this line is. If it's a trap, it is what it is, in my opinion. But like I said, just flirting right now. I haven't locked anything in, but most likely for a pick is definitely Doga Pass. I'm going the Italian Dream, baby. What do you think?
Yeah, this one's just a whole lot of disappointment for me. You have two guys that were just doing main events, and now they're on the prelims
Yeah,
of not even like one of the biggest cards of the year. I mean, why for me it's a big card, but like, people are gonna look and see like, why isn't this on the main event? Why are we getting Zell Huber Johnson on the main event? So for me, that's just a lot of. I mean, I think this could even headline a fight night at one of those Apex cards.
yeah, for
So
sure.
speaking of 5 rounds, I think if this was 5 rounds, I would like Vittori a lot more, especially if he pushes the pace. One thing that has concerned me about Vittori is just getting out of first gear. I mean, we've seen it
Yeah,
like 2-4, and the two wins are. I mean, the Roman fight was. I mean, that one's close. I mean, I thought you could go either way with that one. The first one, obviously. Second one, he just never got going. And then the Costa fight. I mean, we'll talk about Costa later, but I mean, Costa's been a shell of himself. So I mean, but strength of schedule obviously been great. For me, I love the over. Fight goes at like minus 260. I think that's a fantastic parlay piece. I don't really see an avenue where Vittori gets a finish. And Allen's not KOing Vittori 1 second of his life. Maybe if this was, he might catch him in a sub, but I don't see that really happening. I mean, Brandon only does rear naked chokes, really throughout his career. So with Vittori in his neck, I just don't see himself, in his, he's not a fish on the ground. He actually has his own, fair share of subs. So I think fight to win by unanimous decision at minus 105. I think this will be a fight that I think it's going to be one or the other. I think we're with the either Vittori's going to rewind the clock a little bit and pull it back and look good, or we're going to have Allen just, look faster. Vittori doesn't get out of first gear. So I like fight unanimous decision minus 105 and then parlay piece in the over. I don't really have a lean on the money line here just because both have their flaws, and I don't really trust Allen at that price tag, but I also don't trust Vittori with how he's looked. So I'd rather just hit that prop angle. So
Yeah,
that's
you said something that reminded me too. Vittori finish only is plus 215. I mean, I think that's criminal. Like you said, I just I don't know where the finish equity comes on the Brennan side. I think he could sub anybody in the world any given day, but I don't know where the finishing equity comes from. I damn sure don't think it's gonna be a KO.
resub.
What's up?
I haven't looked at this fight as much. I wonder what Vittori's sub is. Plus 1,300. He's had
Plus
one
eight
sub.
plus 1,800 on DraftKings.
Oh, oh wow, even higher. Yeah, I mean one sub in the last 12 years.
I don't think it's subbing him, but I mean, it's a
Yeah,
big
no,
price.
I mean, like, I don't see there being very finish equity in either. If you want to get some points or some crowns, yeah, I like the finish only and get that void to pay you out on that bet. Because I do think you're right. I think it's kind of a free roll. I'm wondering what sub only would be in that one too, or maybe even KO only. Let me actually take a peek at that. Because sometimes DraftKings kind of gives you these lines out where you can get a little free roll action going.
Sub only is minus 475, Brendan. KO only minus 210, Brendan.
That plus 150 KO only. That one looks good too. I mean, no one's ever obviously touched Vittori's chin. I don't think that's changing anytime soon.
Yeah, but finish only is plus 210. Just take that.
No, I'm saying I like both because the off chance that maybe Vittori was wobbled in that first round against Cannonier. If he just falls off a cliff bad. But I mean, again, I think I'm just keeping it simple on this one because I think this fight's just, I don't know. I think it's going to be a boring one, sadly.
All right, let's move on. Last fight of the prelims. Kyler Phillips going against Lock Dog Vinicius Oliveira. I think this is an absolute banger. Vinicius coming in. The price is slowly creeping down and down. It's looking like minus 145, minus 150. Come back on Kyler plus 130. What do you think, Scar?
Yeah, so this is a weird one. I think this is one of those UFC fights where, you really are going to see like how like the brain and the heart differ and when you're coming to betting. If I go with my heart, just not betting at all who I think wins, I think Vinny wins. But if I went with my brain and how you kind of see how UFC is and you see it over the years, I think Kyler Phillips at plus 150. It looks like a trap line to take Vinny at this low. I mean, he just beat Saeed. Everything looks good. He should be much bigger favorite against Kyler, who didn't get out of first gear against Rob Font. So to see Vinny at this low of a line, I'm waiting. I want to see them on the scales. But I feel like it's one of those ones where it's like, I'm going to bet Vinny, and then if I go with my heart, and then afterwards I'm going to be like, why did I not take Kyler? So I feel like, that's how I'm looking. Vinny, I think it's weird because Vinny is all violence, been finished every time, has a bunch of KOs. So I don't know how to even attack this. I was thinking about Kyler finish only, but if Kyler really is falling off the wagon here because that fight looked horrible, then that he might just get knocked out for the first time because Kyler's never been finished. So you really have two things going at each other here that something's got to give. So this one's just going to be one where I'm going to wait, I think, and look at how they are on the scales and make a decision.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I truly think that Kyler is the sharp side in this fight. Like you said, it just stinks, right? And he was minus 175, now minus 150, minus 140, and I think it's gonna keep coming down because That was kind of my inkling at the start, and then I'm like, yo, this is fishy, right? So I want to talk to some people that I trust and that are smarter than me, especially with the MMA shit. And not only some of them are officially on Kyler, a lot of the other guys no money on it, but they agree that Kyler's the sharp side. It's like, yeah, like you said, this price just seems crazy, and I do like these buy low, sell high spots. Buy low price on a buy low spot on Kyler looking like absolute shit versus Rob. He made Rob look like he still got it, and in my opinion, Rob does not have it. Kyler just seemed like one of those days. Just a bad night at the office, like you said, didn't get out of first gear. And on the other side, Vinicius is knocking dudes out, putting guys on highlight reel, and then beating really tough guys like Ricky Simone and Saeed, like you said. So that sell high spot at a very weird, stinky price. I like that. Stylistically, I think Kyler can definitely frustrate Lock Dog in this fight. Kyler's very high volume, right? Throws more, is more accurate than Vinicius. Like you said, Vinicius is power, devastation on the feet. Not that accurate. I've seen his footwork be not that great. You know what I'm saying? I've seen him get a bit frustrated. Again, he looked a bit frustrated in that Sopaj fight. I know how that fight ended, right? And he put him on a fucking highlight reel, but he was looking mighty frustrated in that spot. And Sopaj was having success in that fight. I bet on Sopaj.
Won that fight early on, but he just got reckless. So Vinny, that career trajectory for Vinny could be a lot different if you lost that Sopaj fight for sure.
Yeah, I do think Sopaj is extremely skilled and talented, and I don't think by a long shot we've seen the best that he has to give. But yeah, I was looking, watching him get a little bit frustrated because not Vinicius. Sopaj was doing some things that I think Collar can do, right? Use the footwork, big cage, which I think favors Kyler is 3 rounds, right? So it's not like you got all day and all night to find your rhythm if you're frustrated early in this fight. So I think the first round is going to be a lot of staring, a lot of Vinicius coming forward, empty pressure, not really landing a ton. Kyler poking him from the outside, and hopefully they judge that for us. But and I think the later this fight goes, Kyler is a very smart fighter, right? And watching the tape from your last fight, it doesn't take an idiot to know, like, okay, that was one of my worst nights of my career. Let's learn, let's grow from it. And I trust Kyler to make the right adjustments in this fight. And like I said, I think Kyler's the sharp side for sure. Missed the best of the price, like we said, but I think there'll be some rebound, man. I think there's going to be some casual money later in this week that is watching the highlights.
Fighters are allowed to have bad nights, and 100%. I think a lot of times casual bettors, or even us, are victims to where we see, we judge them based on their last performance and not their career as a whole. Sometimes you just don't got it. And I mean, with 100%. Kyler, I think his finish lines are insane this fight. Plus 800 for KO, that could easily happen because Vinny is a spark plug. He comes, this could be a slow paced fight where, as you said, Kyler's using the footwork and kind of just, or it could be just like, a car crash. And, Kyler finds that counter striking, just, Vinny's striking defense is not the best, puts him out. So, plus 800, I think, not a bad long shot there.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, yeah, mostly aligned on that fight. I think I'm a little surprised. I thought we were gonna go head to head on that one, but too sharp over here.
You see it a lot over the years, and you're like, nope, that's bait. That fight is probably the most bait line of the entire card. I feel like.
Yeah, I agree. Doesn't always work out, but yeah, I like it. And the sharp money coming in on yes,
very sneaky price. Go on Vinny, and then if he goes on Vinny, then Kyler's winning.
Yeah.
It'd be like the Cater fight last week. You just like, well, Jesus.
Yeah, unfortunately. All right. Let's move to the main card. Banger of a main card. If you guys are still watching, appreciate you guys for tuning in. We'll get you guys out of here relatively soon. I think, 5 fights left? And they're all pretty much bangers. So thank you guys for watching so far. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. We got plenty more content coming for you guys. So stay tuned and take the ride with us. But without further ado, let's get to the UFC 318 main card. First fight, Michael Johnson versus Daniel Zellhuber. Daniel Zellhuber, big favorite, minus 650. Michael Johnson, come back at plus 425. I'll kick this one off. It's funny, too, because about half an hour before the stream, I saw Michael Johnson was talking some shit about how he feels disrespected, and Zellhuber, posted a video of me getting knocked out, so I got to teach this young kid a lesson and all that nonsense. I hope he's feeling himself. I hope he comes out nice and aggressive. Chin in the air, trying to get that nod. Yeah, I hope so, Michael. One time for the one time. I really like Zoe Huber, man. I've been a big fan of this guy's inside and outside the octagon. Seems like a really nice kid, and absolute savage inside the octagon. When I was taping him for Dana White's Contender Series, I taped him, I bet him. Watched that fight, how it played out. I was really, really impressed. And then I remember I went live and used that S word. You know what I'm saying? I dropped the S word with Daniel. I was like, yo, this kid could be special, man. Like, he very, very young. Still, even to this day, only 26 years old. I think he can do some serious damage in the biggest stage in the world. And then he proceeds to lose to Trey Ogden. Trey Ogden kind of vet lessons him, his UFC debut. If you watch the rest of his tape and then you watch that Trey Ogden fight, you can clearly see, just like we talked about in one of the previous fights, just looked like a bad day, right? And Trey Ogden does that to guys. He makes guys look shitty for the most part. And that's exactly what he did to a guy like Zoe Huber. And especially coming off the L, it's just styles, right? Short, sweet. Daniel Huber is devastated in the octagon, really well rounded, good takedown defense, good grappling defensively and offensively, extremely versatile on the feet, power in both hands, really good kicking game, smart as well. And I think that's one area of his game where he's really fine tuned, right? The decision making, the fight IQ, not being all gas, no breaks, being a lot more intelligent with his pressure and with his shot selection. I really, really like that, man. And that's all you need against a guy like Michael Johnson. I personally, I don't want to disrespect the man, but I didn't think Michael Johnson was going to be in the UFC this long. When he was losing to guys like Malarkey and Diego, I'm like, okay, it's it's about that time, like any day now. And then back-to-back wins. So shout out to him. But this is not Darius Flowers, my guy. This is not this is not a Zaitar. So a young, very long pause guy like this, devastating striker, I just don't see any other path. So, Zoe Huber ITD is like minus 125 last time I looked at it. I don't like getting that cute.
We're looking at minus 110 still. Yeah, we're getting a
I'll
gift.
take it. I'll take it. I don't want to get fancy and pick around and all of that stuff. I do lean that it happens in 2-3, but would anybody be shocked if Michael Johnson gets knocked the fuck out within 2.5 minutes? I personally wouldn't. So it might be a multi-unit play for me, Daniel Huber, to finish Michael Johnson in devastating fashion, and Michael Johnson wakes up looking at the fucking lights. It's that simple to me. Adds a name to his resume on a huge main card in front of a big crowd. Let's get this main card started the way it should, right, Scar? That's the UFC. Let's get this main card to start with a bang. Let's get this fucking crowd jumping, and let's set the stage for DP. So I think Zoe Huber gets it done in devastating fashion. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, this is like just meat on a platter, I think, for Zoe Huber. The man goes from having a war, USA Noche, with Ribovic.
What a banger.
I was lucky enough to be there live, and that was, in my opinion, the best fight of the card. So
You were in the sphere?
He was in the sphere.
Holy shit.
With Sean Boy and Gold. Good old GoldBoys. Yeah. That fight was insane. I was on the Zoe Huber side. So took an L there. But Ribovic is a dog. Ribovic is a dog, and that's not a bad loss for him. That's just, that put a stripe on his belt, in my opinion, and it built character. He's going to go into this fight. I don't like where, if he didn't have that Trey Ogden fight, this could be another Trey Ogden fight if he didn't take it serious, but I think he's moved past that. This isn't his first UFC fight. I was lucky enough to get Zoe Huber with the Tiba and Zoe Huber with Kopylov when he first opened at minus 280. Obviously, that price is long gone, as you see with the minus 600. But I think two options are great pieces. Zoe Huber, inside the distance. I think Johnson's been finished over 65% of his times. I think, he's just going to, as you say, try to prove a point. And he's going to realize, wow, you're a lot bigger in real life. There's a huge, size discrepancy. And I feel like Sub is live too. I think Johnson might get hurt, and we could see Zoe Huber pull a Darce or something like that. I think if you wanted to attack it, because obviously minus 600 isn't fun, I think Zoe Huber strikes in his money line with maybe a couple minutes. That could get it down to in the ones. Or Zoe Huber in round 2 to start. But again, we're getting a little sweaty and a little cute. I think Zoe Huber by finish, if you just wanted a straight bet, it's going to be the way to go.
Yeah, I
So
agree. We're aligned there. You know, if Michael Johnson's taking his strikes 15 minutes, I'll tip my cap and
if
you can have my money.
if anyone's a Michael Johnson fan, and there's someone out there that loves Michael Johnson and wants to bet this fight, Michael Johnson by decision at plus 1100, though, not a bad look. But I mean,
Say,
that's his only path. And I don't know.
yeah,
Zoe Huber would have to have a horrible night at the office. But
yeah.
it's UFC.
All right, moving on. Dan 50K Ige going against Pitbull. Dan Ige, sizable favorite, minus 220. Comeback on Patricio is plus 180. Scar, why don't you kick us off?
Yeah, I mean, with obviously a lot of these favorites moving up to almost unbettable money lines. Um, as we look for, what's the next best thing now, fight week. I think Dan Ige is going to be your best money line parlay piece of the week. He's just, I mean, we've seen him. I mean, that day's notice against Diego, he's just had that schedule, that strength of history, and he's tough. I already did a max play with Usyk, but I love Danny Gay plus 5.5. I just don't see a world where Patricio can finish him. It's a little juicier, but that's why it's a builder. But Danny Gay round two to start, I think is minus 125 on DraftKings. And then for Patricio's low output, I think it would be a safe thing to do Danny Gay strikes and his money line to get to even money as well. I just feel like Patricio is, he's past his prime. If he's not getting takedowns and I'm mixing the level changes, we're going to see the Yair fight. Now, obviously, Ige doesn't have the length to disrupt Patricio and make it as uncomfortable as it looked. But Danny Gay has power, and you saw that with the Woodson fight. I still think if Danny Gay hits him, he's going to just make him uncomfortable in a different sense. And we're just never going to see Patricio get going. And I think we see, I mean, if I had to predict, I'd say Danny Gay by decision. But, I mean, maybe like a round two or round three sprinkle. But I think Danny Gay is just going to win at 30-27, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. This is one of the only plays I have put in already. I played Ige in over 4.5 minutes, minus 135 on DraftKings.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Patricio is as washed and old as he looked in the Yari fight. I think it's somewhere in the middle, right? He's 38
Yeah.
years old. I think he's, like you said, way past his prime, but I don't think he's as bad as we saw in the Yari fight. It was just probably some nerves and just couldn't get it going, unfortunately. So kind of saw a bit of a boring fight, and Yari just run away with it. But even with a better version of Patricio in the spot, I still like Dan. Man, Dan's gonna more power in his hands, younger, way more UFC experience. At this point in Pitbull's career, fought the way better guys. I just think it's a really good name to add to Dan's resume, and I think Dan is going to be more accurate. I think he's going to have big moment upside in this fight. The shots are going to look like they land harder and cleaner. Crowd is probably going to be on Dan's side. There's just so many factors. Minus 210, minus 220. Like I said, I want to put some respect on Pitbull's name, so I wasn't willing to lay that price. But putting the 4.5 minutes, I agree. I think it is Dan Ige by decision and just kind of wins some points. Maybe flirts with a finish. Maybe knocks Patricio down or something like that. But I doubt it. I think Dan wins by decision, pretty cleanly. I'm not mad at Dan unanimous decision. I think Dan points is like plus 130. I will have that in the points lotto. I think that's the way this fight goes, and I think Dan just kind of keeps stacking up the pieces and absolute savage. One of my favorite fighters in the UFC. Definitely gonna fight for your money. If this bet loses, I don't think you're gonna feel terrible about it. I doubt he gets finished. And at worst, I think it's 29-28, very close fight, and maybe we just get screwed out of the cards. But I think that's absolute worst case scenario. Give me Dan to add the name to his
Yeah, I mean,
resume,
we
and
look at Danny Gay and his losses. Like, he's not losing to that style of fighter that Patricio is. He's losing to a fast fighter like Lerone Murphy. He's losing to, a explosive fighter like Diego or
yeah,
grapplers like Bryce and Mosvar. I mean, Patricio is going to have to fight the perfect fight. And it's just, I mean, we both agree on this. It's just too big of a gap to close for him at this point of his career, I think.
yeah. I'm taking Dan Ige over most guys in a 15-minute kickboxing fight. That is for damn sure. Next fight, Kevin Holland versus D-Rod, Daniel Rodriguez. Kevin Holland, huge favorite, minus 550, minus 600. D-Rod, plus 375. Yes, the pick is Kevin Holland. Yes, I think Kevin Holland gets it done. Yes, I think Kevin Holland gets it done by decision. For me personally, I've learned this the hard way. I bet Kevin Holland way too many times. I've lost way too much money on him, knowing the type of fighter that he is, knowing that I shouldn't be laying these prices, knowing that I shouldn't have any money on him. It's never Kevin Holland as a favorite. It's never, ever, ever. Not even with your money, Scar. Not with anybody's money. Is it ever Kevin Holland minus 500? It is one of the most absurd things I've ever seen in my life. Now that I say that, he's gonna finish him probably in 2 or 3 minutes, and he's gonna
Getting
justify
the
the
darts
price.
around.
Yeah, but if he does, so be it. I'll watch and be entertained and clap for him and shout out to Kevin. But Kevin can most certainly dominate the first half of this fight. He can come close to finish D-Rod. It could look like he is absolutely styling on D-Rod. And he could just absolutely fumble the bat, as we've seen many, many times in the past. So, complete pass for me. If you're betting Kevin Holland, call the fucking number. And I have an island I want to sell you in the Bahamas. What do you think, Scar?
Yeah, I mean, I got Kevin much earlier, right when he dropped. I actually love this fight for him. It was like minus 280. Now I look fight week and we're at minus 550. And I'm just like, what am I looking at here? D-Rod by decision at plus 1100. I don't know how someone doesn't. I mean, that's not bad. That's
Yeah.
not bad. Again, you're going to see this throughout the card. There are paths for some of these big underdogs, and it's mostly going to be by decision. So, but at the same time, I mean, D-Rod did look good against Santiago, but it's also Santiago, who just looked horrible. And Holland, I will say this, though, while he has let us down a lot in the past, him at a favorite at welterweight, I remember seeing this stat. He's like 8-1 or something in the UFC when he's a heavyweight or welterweight favorite or something like that. And that's, I mean, obviously this is not a bum. This is D-Rod, but D-Rod's obviously a lot older. He is somewhat durable. I mean, I think his only two losses by finish are the Ian Gary head kick, which was, just came out of nowhere, and then he just death gassed against Neil Magny in that third round. So I don't know how I could trust Kevin Holland inside the distance. It is even money. Um, but I think maybe Kevin Holland in round two to start, I think gets us pretty close to where we need to be. I think that might be something I might attack and just like a builder. Or Kevin Holland and most strikes maybe would be something just with his volume. I think D-Rod's going to just, again, struggle to get going in this one and look really slow. He's looked at, I think, really slow ever since that June, was it Don John, or what was the guy on the fight against before the Hamzat one for
For
D-Rod?
for who? For
So D-Rod, he fought the Asian guy on that card. Let me pull
you
it
talking
up
about
here.
Leash?
Yeah, Leach. Now, he's been gone for so long, but yeah, I mean, ever since that fight, he hasn't been the same. It's like almost like he's been sick. But he is on a 2-fight winning streak. But again, it's Moreno and Santiago. So for I mean, I just think it's gonna be Kevin Holland all day, but it's just gonna be a tough one to find how you can get to like respectable money on this one.
Yeah, I think Kevin ITD might be mush of the week. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean
All right,
that. I mean, you do that and Zelhuber inside the distance plus 260, not a little bad, little
no
you know.
chance. At least me personally, no chance. All right, let's move on, man. Co-main event of the evening. Mr. Secret Juice, Paulo Costa going against Roman Chase Hooper Kopilov. Roman coming in sizable favorite, minus 250. Come back on Paulo plus 200. Scar, I'm gonna kick us off and I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna be on Paulo. I truly think Paulo. Yep.
Oh,
Damn right. Yep. I
oh,
truly
the
think.
first crazy bet of the
Yeah.
day.
Nah, I don't. We'll see how crazy it is, my man. We
Oh
will
man.
see. I truly think Paulo's the sharp side, man. Plus 200 is kind of outrageous, right? I like Roman. I'm a Roman fan. I think he has really intelligent striking. Obviously, really really good on the feet. I think he's doing the best he can to shirt up the huge grappling that was. I mean, the huge hole that was his grappling prior. I think he's doing decently well, improving those aspects of his game. I don't think that's going to be like a huge part of this fight by any means. I think Paulo can maybe find some top time for sure. I think there can be some weird sequences, and maybe Paulo, overextends or Roman overextends, which kind of leads to a scramble, and maybe Paulo's finding some top time. But I mean, there is probably, I mean, like we said early in this card, I'm a big fan of buy low spots, and I don't. There's really no lower as losing 4 to your last five. But first of all, and a lot of people are like, "Oh, his last win is Luke Rockhold," and blah blah blah. Like, yes, all very true, but the losses, as well documented, Izzy, Marvin Vittori, we just talked about him, Robert Whittaker, former champ, Sean Strickland, former champ. Those are really good losses, and now you're fighting a step down. As good as I think Roman is, and as much as I respect him, it is a step down. One dimensional striker, and yes, I think Roman is a bit more technical, a bit more cleaner for sure. Um, on the feet, 100%. And I think Paulo is gonna possibly struggle with that early in this fight. I think Paulo is gonna get touched up in this fight for sure. I just think a large portion of this time, a large portion of this fight, especially over 15 minutes and not 25 minutes, I think a large portion of it is a 50-50 fight. And we're getting plus 200 on a guy who has gone toe to toe with the best of them, lost 4 out of his last 5, needs a bounce back, for his career and possibly his job. And I think it's a pretty good matchup. I think Roman is going to give him the fight that he wants, which is a 15-minute kickboxing fight. In my opinion, the biggest threat for Paulo is the kicks. I think Paulo can get hurt to the body. I think the head kicks are really, really sneaky. I think Paulo has to watch that. But Paulo is extremely tough, man. Extremely tough, extremely durable, really good chin. Gonna fight for your money. We've seen him at absolute dog fights. Say what you want about his cardio. We've seen him kind of cardio dump in some fights, but it's 3 rounds. And like I said, I don't think Roman's gonna push a crazy grappling pace or anything like that to really zap his cardio. I've seen him dog it out when he is tired, and at very least, he gonna fight for my money. And it's plus 200 against a step down in competition, buy low spot. Kopylov coming. That was Kopilov's last fight, right? Was the
Chris Curtis.
yeah the
Head kick at the end, 1 second left.
yeah, where Curtis was like on the floor, but kind of weird
I mean,
stoppage.
it should have been stopped. I mean, I thought 1 second
Yeah,
left, you could let that go, but
yeah, weird stoppage, and what we saw in that fight, right? Curtis, Roman was
was he
bleeding really
not?
bad, huge
Yeah,
cut.
he's not going into the third round.
Yeah, so we saw Chris Curtis, who is a lot less explosive, a lot less mobile, a lot less dynamic than a guy like Paulo, have some success against Roman. Clap it up, and I tip my cap for you winning that fight and finding the finish. No disrespect and nothing taken away from that performance, but yeah, this is not the Josh Frems of the world. This is not the um, what's his first name? The Almeida guy, Caesar. This is not a Caesar Almeida. This is a much more proven guy. Like I said, very very tough, very durable. So yes, I don't want to be on a value loser. You know what I'm saying? I'm not in the business of, oh, I don't think he's gonna win, but the price is wide, so I'm gonna play him. I don't do that. I'm picking fighters that I think are gonna win. So I would hate for this to be a value loser, but I just think, like I said, most of the time it's gonna be a very close fight. Both guys are gonna have their moments, and we're getting plus 200. So sounds like we're gonna disagree. What? Talk me in, bro. What do you got on the Roman side?
I only disagree because the universe put Roman Kopylov at plus 102 when it first dropped on DraftKings. And I was at,
What?
yep, look at that on Fight Odds. I got in 2 minutes later. All right, I got him at minus 140, minus 160, and then minus 170. I've been
What
waiting for
the
this fight.
fuck?
Yeah, I've been waiting for this fight ever since the first one canceled. I actually just loved it stylistically for Roman. I mean, I bet on Paulo Costa's side. I think now it's kind of like, do you want to catch a falling knife type of thing where, if he fights his perfect fight, I do actually might. If Zellhuber wins and Atiba win, I have those bets where I'm gonna then look at a hedge opportunity to probably just do the amount of these max bets on those guys. Paulo Costa by decision at plus 500, I think is an amazing bet. A lot of value there. I think you fight 6 times. I think Paulo can win one of them. Um, but man, this man has just been a head case ever since that title shot, and he's never got going. There has not been one fight where I've looked like, damn, Paulo, you look good again, and that's my concern here. And
I
Roman,
mean, he looked pretty good in the Shawn fight, no? Close fight.
no, I mean he just was behind. He was
Hmm.
behind, and that's I was going to get to this where Roman strikes most strikes. I think I'm going to love that as well. The kicks will add up for 6 strikes, and I think he's just going to have the volume there. So I feel like if I get a good number on Rome, I might just do Roman 6 strikes and fight to start round 2 or something like that, and get if that's even money or if it's just even money alone. I feel like Roman's volume is going to be really good. with Costa, I one of the favorite lines I've ever had was Strickland was even money against Costa in strikes, which was insane to me. And I mean, with Costa, it's just like, hey, you know, will you get going? This is a fight that's, you know, I mean, there's almost. Can you believe they're almost the same age? They're 1 year apart. Like, so there's no excuse for him to be faster or anything like that. But I just don't see Costa having the motivation. I'm just, and until you can at least show that, it's a scary person to bet on. But I think if you're gonna bet on him, I think decision, great avenue, and I'm wondering where they're gonna put this takedown line at. Because if they put Costa juiced on a takedown, or if they go maybe 1.5, I think he might get one takedown. But if they put 1.5 for Costa, I will hit that under so hard because I think Costa just gets in that comfortability of, hey, I'm gonna sit here and just throw with you. And I feel like he gets a little delusional, kind of like Vittori sometimes, where he thinks he's doing a lot better than what he's doing, and he doesn't push the pace to a next level, being like, hey, I need to win this round. I need to ramp it up. If he could do that, then I think he could win that decision. But I'm even worried that if this is, like you said, kind of like the Bonfim-Thompson fight, where it's like, even if it does look close at the end, who are the judges going to give it to? I don't see how they're going to give it to Costa. Costa's going to have to win pretty handsomely, in my
Why won't
opinion.
why won't they give it to Costa?
I mean, Costa's pissed off a lot of people over the years, man.
I don't
A
matter.
lot of years. He had all that weight missing, and then that blatant one. It just pissed
This
him
is
off.
not a popularity contest, bro. Like that's what I'm saying. If it's close and it's 29-28, I did my job. I played plus 200. That's not ideal. I don't want to lose, but it is what it is. And yeah, Costa's an idiot. That's basically what you're saying. He's an idiot and very hard to
Oh yeah.
trust. But I don't mind kind of buying into that volatility a little bit. You know what I'm saying? At plus 200, if it was even money, I don't know if I bet Roman, but I'd probably just stay away. But at plus 200, the implied probability is like Costa still has devastating power, very tough to take down, very tough. He's gonna fight for your money, absolute dogs in his chest. So yeah, he an idiot, but you
Yeah,
love that and you hate that.
I've only seen Roman lose to grapplers. I mean, you have the Duraev, you have the Anthony. If Costa doesn't mix this up at least a little bit, he's really not helping himself. You got to
I think
mix
he
it up.
will. Yeah, I think he will. I think that's a small part of my capping. Like I don't want to trust him to do anything smart, but
Yeah.
it's like, come on, bro. Like you're gonna
Well, I mean,
fight
look at
15
Jake
minutes and not
Matthews
try.
last week. Jake Matthews. I mean, we've bet on Jake Matthews time and time again. One of the most prospects. You're just like, just do what you can do, and
Yeah,
look what happens. He does what he's good at, and he makes it look easy. So
absolutely.
I think you're right. If Costa grapples, 100%, it's a 50-50 fight.
All right, so yeah, first little bit of contention there on opposite sides. I like it. I love it. I love it. We'll see what
Oh, we
happens. It's
got
gonna be a great fight. Great
we got
co-main.
little
Great
Wayne
co-main.
coming out here now for this main event.
Yeah, let's get it. And speaking of main event, let's get right to it. Hometown boy retirement fight in Louisiana for my man DP, absolute legend, future Hall of Famer, absolute OG of the game. Much respect. Going against Max Holloway. Max Holloway lines pushing up a bit, sitting at minus 130, minus 135. Come back on DP plus 110. Scar, what do you think?
Yeah, so this, I mean, when you look at fights of the year, I think we're going to look at this one right here. This one, I hope we don't have a Jason Herzog moment at any point in this fight like we did last week. Obviously, different weight class, but I just hope the referee needs to stand as far back as possible. I want to see, like, this is his retirement fight. This is his last fight. If they're, let them go out on their shield in this one. All right, because this is one of those ones. I wish we got Gaethje Poirier 3, but I'm completely fine with this. Even though Dustin has won the last two, but they are really far spaced apart. And there was, Max was coming up. It was a short notice fight that second time. I think one of the avenues I'm going to hit, and I love this angle, is Max 6 strikes. If they put that anywhere near even money, the man has 20 out of his last 23 UFC fights, he's had the most strikes. The only 3 times, Volkanovski. So he outstruck him in the Dustin fight the first time, and that was under horrible circumstances for him. So if they give that, if it's juiced, I'm adding round 2, round 3 to kind of get it back to even. I'm just going to love that angle. But Dustin finish only, I think at minus 120 is kind of insane to me. and Dustin by points at plus what I believe it's 370 right now. And FanDuel is insane to me
Something
as
like that.
well. Yeah, I mean, I think that those are, I mean, Max has only been finished once. So, I mean, can Dustin finish him? Sure. You know, is Max Chin's gone potentially? Maybe. But I think Max 6 strikes, Dustin by decision are the value plays. I think Dustin's going to be nervous though. So if I had to take a pick, I'm going with Max all the way.
Yeah, I mean, hell of a main event, man. Hell of a main event. Main event. I can't wait to watch it. I like a couple of things in this fight actually. I like overs. I like over 4.5 fights to go to distance. Um, I know Max. You look at the resume and back to back KOs, but we're not gonna pretend like Max is a heavy hitter by any means. I know he's up a weight class, but he's fighting bigger guys too, so I think that balances out. And both of those fights, right, the Korean Zombie and the Gaethje fight, those KOs were just like tornado sequences. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think was it third round? I think it was. Korean Zombie just comes out brainless.
Oh,
Like,
he said, I'm going out on my shield in front of
yeah,
all of them.
yeah, it
It
was
made no
crazy.
sense.
Just I'm gonna fucking march right towards this guy and wing punches, and Max
Mhm.
finishes him and gets the job done. And then obviously the infamous will live forever in the history of the sport. The point to the octagon against Gaethje and finishes him in the last 10 seconds. But I think this fight is gonna look like that Gaethje fight. I think Max is gonna have success and be winning this fight, but I think it's gonna like kind of coast to a decision, man. Like I don't see much finish equity. Um, Dustin obviously very skilled, very dangerous, but I've heard that a couple times this week. I can't believe I've heard it once, let alone more than one time. People questioning Max's chin, like, bro, Ilya is a fucking legend. Some of the most potent power we've ever seen in the history of the sport, and his chin got cracked. Now his chin is gone. Now it's just the overreaction, and fans are so fickle in this sport. Max Holloway is probably top fucking two or three most durable fighters ever in the history of the sport. And on the Dustin side, in terms of Max finishing them, like I said, Max not really known to be a KO artist, more of a volume guy, attritional guy, and you're gonna have to fucking kill Dustin and bury him 6 feet to get him out of there in this fight. So, and Dustin very very durable in his own right. Despite what the Justin Gaethje head kick out of fucking nowhere may tell you, Dustin's very durable, very very tough. So, that's probably the angle I like the most. Probably like one of my favorite angles on the card, to be honest. Fight goes a distance, and then I agree with you. I like the Max out, man. I think Dustin might be number two mush of the week, maybe number one. It's who is not gonna win a bet Dustin at plus money in his hometown in his retirement fight. He looks good too, like he looks jacked as fuck, looks a little bit leaner, and looks like a tank. So how would you not want to bet Dustin? You know what I'm saying? So I don't mind fading that action and fading the public and going with Max. Max, going to be way more comfortable at this weight class than the first time. Like you said, on short notice, upper weight class, in a weight class he's never fought in before. And it looked like that, right? Dustin just looked like the bigger guy. His shots had much more effect than Max's. And now looks like fully comfy in his weight class, right? Fourth fight. Is it? Yeah, fourth fight is going to
Is it
be,
fourth now? I guess.
yeah,
Oh, you
because
counting the first couple with that
the
kind of the
first one,
scramble?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So fourth fight at this weight class looks comfortable, looks way more filled in the weight. And I just think he's gonna just like the Gaethje fight, just kind of be ahead, man. Just use the footwork, use the movement. I think he's gonna land more. I think there's gonna be a little bit more sting on DP shots, but I think Max is gonna land cleaner, be a little bit more versatile in there, right? Chop the leg, go to the body more. He had a lot of success to the body in that first fight, body jabs, body hooks. I think he can eat at the body again in this matchup, and I'll take slight favor money on Max. Unfortunate, I don't want to see DP lose in his retirement fight, but nonetheless, great career. He'll get an amazing send off after losing a decision, and it is what it is. It is what it is. So, yeah, I like fight goes, and I like blessed express, baby.
I am scared, but I probably will probably do over 4.5 instead of fight go just based on the trauma of
Yeah,
that. I feel like they could easily do that again.
yeah,
Like, and so I might just. Like fight to be won by unanimous decision at plus 120 isn't bad, but I just don't like the what if at the end there. Dustin plus 13.5, Dustin plus 9.5, and minus 230 and like minus 300. I think are great parlay pieces. But again, I think I can kind of compare this to I mean, only on the betting side of this, the Valentina fight versus Manon. in the sense where I feel like we're going to get like a 49, 46, 48, 47. So I think if you do the spreads and bet both sides, I think it's going to fall in the middle. As you said, I think we're both on the fight goes. I just wonder if Dustin's going to mix it up. I hope he does for his sake if he wants to win. If he can mix in the takedowns, just to throw it out there, so Max has to think about it, because you want to get Max. The key with Max is getting him out of the rhythm. If Max is in a rhythm, you're losing. Like you're
You
done.
think Dustin? You think Dustin's shooting takedowns
Pulls
in
Gilly.
New Orleans in his
He's gonna
retirement
pull
fight?
Gilly at least once. You know he's gonna pull Gilly. But I
Yeah,
think
he'll pull
if
Gilly. He'll pull Gilly at least one
yeah,
time for
and
sure.
I think, but for him, I think a big part of this fight is going to be he needs to attack that lead leg of Max, and he needs to attack it early, because if Max gets going and in rhythm, it's going to be a tough one for him. You have two angles here, kind of going at each other. You have, you know, Max has to buck the trend of 2-0. Will he, winning that trilogy fight, and then he has to, Dustin has to buck the trend of, hey, he's a retiring fighter. Can he pull like a Robbie Lawler and go out into the sunset? So this is gonna be a great one. I mean, I hope you guys will love it. We have 14 jam-packed fights, and I know there's gonna be a lot of people that are gonna put all their bankroll in that last fight. So just keep everything within your units, and
Yes.
enjoy every part of this fight. And honestly, if whether you're up or down, it might be best just to watch this last fight, because it's gonna be that good.
Yeah, absolutely. And with that said, I mean that does it. 14 fights for you guys. Went through each and every one. Hopefully you guys found value in what we did here today. Like I said, a lot more content coming on this channel. So hit that like button if you enjoyed the video. If you found some value in what we did here today, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. And yeah, man, thank you guys for watching. And we'll see you guys soon. Peace.